Welcome to your Full Circle Friday. My name is Sara, a certified trauma recovery coach with Full Circle Wellspring. Trauma causes a disruption in our neural pathways and can halt survivors from staying connected to themselves, others, and the world around them. They can abandon or exile parts of themselves behind a wall of shame and fear. These episodes are dedicated toward understanding trauma and learning about outside resources, adjunctive services, recommendations, techniques, coping skills, and more to support and encourage the survivor on their journey back to their authentic selves. Let's get started. Today's topic is Jungian Philosophy. Today I'd like to take a brief overview of Carl Jung and his contributions to the world of psychology. It's worth taking a deeper look into his theories, philosophies, therapy, and archetypes. He contributed to a great deal of this generation's way of thinking and processing. Carl Jung was born in Switzerland in 1875, but he was alive in the generation right before me. He died in 1961 after my own parents were born. So his perceptions are still being fleshed out, sometimes challenged, and slowly being adapted into modern therapy. I mention this because I'm not a hardcore Jungian follower, but I do find him to be super insightful when diving into the world of trauma therapy and coaching. He's being highlighted today on Full Circle Friday as an outside resource that I believe we can gain knowledge from, but I don't necessarily go all in on every one of his concepts. Jung is responsible for main concepts such as the collective unconscious, personality archetypes, and dream symbols. He also started the tying together of spirituality and psychology. His father was a pastor, so he was very invested in religion and history. While I'm not driving down that road as a topic today, I do believe that seeing the psyche as a mental, emotional, and spiritual realm is a really big deal when you're actively seeking out trauma recovery and you're on a journey of psychological healing. Briefly, the collective unconscious has been studied for decades now and has bled its way into modern psychology. It's worth noting that Jung considered this an inherited aspect of all humans, similar in my opinion to the nature versus nurture. The collective unconscious was presented like the nature part for all humans, born into a world that without any other experience, it gave us beliefs and human mindsets in a particular culture, and they're just assumed to exist. This was his main theory that ran throughout several of his books and other concepts. From there, another branch of Jung's contributions that still is at play today is his dream theory. He believed that the unconscious and subconscious realms of dreaming translates into images, narratives, answers, and ideas that can be used, when remembered and examined, to find healing in your conscious. This is a fascinating subject to me. I do feel like dreams have a way of showing and guiding. I even did my senior thesis paper on dream interpretation over 20 years ago. Earlier this week on the journal episode, I explained why I'm beginning to journal my dreams as well. For trauma recovery, healing, and other psychological uses, I find Jung's most important contribution to be that of the archetypes and personality work that he did. Jung examined and categorized personality traits and was able to uncover a whole lot about their psychological functions. 2 decades after Jung's death, myers-briggs adopted a final set of personality traits and added them to Jung's original 3 coupled traits. Then he created a personality test. If you have never taken a Myers-Briggs personality test, you really ought to, in my opinion. As an INFJ, I highly recommend it. The insight alone from that will give you depth to your personal journey, to your healing, and understanding how your personality works in this wild world that we live in. These personality categories have been used to help people find healing within relationships by understanding theirs and their partner's functioning roles, as well as even teaching us more about our learning styles based on our personality indicators. Even a career and parenting styles have been rooted in this type of categorizing. These all stemmed from Jung's original concepts and the study that he did of human function. In Jungian philosophy, we find 4 main archetypes of human patterns and behaviors: the self, the persona, the anima, and the shadow. Jung presented three components of self: the ego, the personal unconscious, and the collective unconscious. The self being the individual, and the personal unconscious being the memories and life experiences. There are also tests available to find your Jungian archetype and explanation of each to find out why it's important to help you understand yourself. Beyond that, there are his philosophies, which I think are worth a bit of studying. And now there's even a Jungian style of therapy available. There are Jungian analysts and all kinds of complex ways to dive into Carl Jung's work, if you feel led to do so. To close, here are a few of Jung's quotes that I find very insightful and healing to my trauma recovering self. He said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." He also said, "I'm not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." Also, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. And wasn't he right? Lastly, we cannot change anything unless we accept it. As you can see, these quotes and many of Jung's philosophies line up with the work that we do in our trauma recovery as part of our healing journey. So if you need support, I'd love to chat with you more about my coaching services. A final and favorite quote of his that I leave with you today. He said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Well, doesn't that just perfectly complement our work in our full circle healing? And a privilege it would be to walk beside you while you go on that path. Feel free to shoot me a message on the Connect tab of my site or schedule a 20-minute complimentary discovery call today to see if coaching is right for you. Thank you for joining me for today's episode of Trauma Survivorhood. This has been written and created by your host, Sara, a trauma recovery coach. For more info about me, trauma recovery resources, or to check out our support groups, classes, free survivor circles, private coaching, and more, visit www.fullcirclewellspring.com. Schedule a complimentary 20-minute discovery call to see if coaching is right for you. For the latest info on schedules and updates, follow us on Facebook at Full Circle Wellspring. All other media, social links, blogs, and show notes are posted in the episode guide below. Until next time, be well, survivors.